Alright, so it's time to first pay a visit to the Verdigris black hole in order to get to Kerchu, which means another shooting section.
Ahoy there, Lombax!
Da, da, da,
I see your second
da,
course
da,
from
da,
Kerchu
da, da,
City.
da, da,
You
da,
I
want
don't
to
know,
know
again,
what
I'm
this
thinking
means
more
for
of
a
Star
certain
Wars with this.
secret witchy?
This dude is really starting to annoy me.
Very surprised that they didn't create a proper rival for Ratchet also for, airship combat, like, Wolf was for
Whoa,
Fox.
Clank! Check out that black hole!
Hmm.
I think we just found our escape route.
I guess they would have needed to make an evil Lombax, and that might have,
Well, not
you
necessarily, just again, remember,
true, yeah.
Fox and Wolf are of different species, technically, so...
That is true, yeah. But my best guess is maybe their mentality, if they ever considered it, was, oh, it would need to be an evil Lomax, but we just established that most Lomaxes are dead. Which, okay, I will say this. I still don't think we really needed to make Ratchet out to be a last son of Krypton type of character, especially since we have technically seen other Lomaxes already anyway. It's like, maybe just say Lomaxes don't interact with each other that much, essentially, like, they all tour the stars and whatnot, but like...
I have tracked the fixed point
Ratchet is
to a
Superman
remote
at
ice
the
moon.
I'll
Well,
just
that's
be
kind
honest,
of,
I-
okay, well, not completely,
on.
that's kind of
I
the
wanna leave
allegory
these
that they're
guys
going
with a
for
little
it. Last
party
of his
gift.
kind, and bringer of hope for the galaxies.
This is also why they bring in the drama about them having to destroy the Dimensionator, which, as Ratchet puts it, would be the only way to find other Lombaxes, since I guess maybe they beamed themselves with the
Okay, I don't
Dimensionator, and so
remember if
that might
the
be...
game is already explained, but otherwise they will do that in one part or two, so it's not too big of a spoiler, especially because at this point everyone knows what the franchise knows. Yes, because of the actions of Tachyon, the Lombaxes felt partially ashamed of what they did, so they imposed a self-exile by having using Dimensionator and fleeing to another dimension, in order to properly stay there, and only leaving a very selective few of their kind. Ratchet's father was one of them. We will learn more about that in a crack in time, technically. Still
Isn't that a
doesn't
classic?
still doesn't explain much how how Angela, and I don't remember how does this gel with Rift Apart's presence of Rivet in a complete different dimension. So I'll need to check again the story for that.
Isn't that just delicious, though? Oh no, we created this problem, so before we actually fix the problem, we'll exile ourselves. Like, I get exiling yourselves, dudes, but maybe first deal with the psychopath who you kind of have unleashed
It
onto
didn't
the
help
galaxy that you're
that.
running from.
Okay, I don't remember if he has to explain that too, but all the technology that Tachyon has been using to, to enslave the Polaris galaxy, that's all Lombax technology that he repurposed and turned against them. So again, they're clearly trying to have the more, direct rivalry similar to how Ripto was in regards to Spyro. So.
I guess, to be fair, the idea is, okay, it is a change of pace from, oh, all my people are dead. It's not so much that the Lombaxes are dead, just that, well, they chose a new homestead, basically.
But the franchise will raise multiple times, mind you, the question of should we actually go find them or should we leave them where they are? And with different arguments posed into that. One of them might be, for example, there might have been a good reason why they decided to self-impose. Another potentially would be something slightly similar to the themes that Invincible, raised with the Viltrumite Empire, the idea that a species like this should not potentially be discovered again, which is also slightly similar to what happened with the Bottle City of Kandor or Superman mythos. In case you didn't know, with at first Superman was rejoiced to find, again, a colony of his people and brought them to Earth. A lot of them turned out to be assholes who suddenly got empowered by the yellow sunlight of Earth and had to be stopped, basically. So,
Yep. It's like, okay, my take has always been something in the middle, because I'll be honest, part of me kind of has just always rolled my eyes at the drama of it because it feels manufactured, since, again, Lombaxes were never really this serious a topic. Like, at most, what we got in the classic trilogy was Well, you know, we Lombaxes, we kind of just tend to tour the stars, so we don't always run into each other much. But
Even beyond that,
this,
at no point in the previous tetralogy anyone raised the idea of, oh, Lombax, that's a rare sight to see potentially. They just, understand what the kind of species are, which, sure, you can make an argument of, the Lombax used to be so well known that, even if it's just one around, there would be enough people in the galaxies to understand what they look like.
yeah, it's like my issue with it is that I feel like, and again, it's not helped by the fact that they haven't really done much to progress with that plot line in the games afterwards. I'm just like, did this really need to be a thing?
Also, the boss just spawned in this
Beautiful.
early PS3 game, so yeah, there's still a lot of jank despite the patches.
I know you probably have talked about it, but how would you summarize your stance on the whole Lombexing?
I honestly don't mind it. Again, it offers a good excuse to justify Ratchet's presence, but then again, if you paid attention, a lot of the characters in the franchise did seem to have the one-step limit over species for the most part. Only like the mooks were mostly just relegated to have multiple representatives of their species, like say also for example the villains like the Blargs in the first game. So the idea of potentially Ratchet being the sole survivors, and sure again let's also count Angela, now suddenly being retconned into being the last survivor and finally discovering what happened might feel sudden. I don't know. It still provides a good mystery, to be unraveled. But that's kind of one part why I stuck around that much, because I want to have that closure on that. And unfortunately, as I mentioned in the past, Rift Apart is unfortunately just a bit of a stepping stone towards that. Sure, it demonstrates what the Dimensionator can be capable of if misused. But at the same time, it doesn't really advances that much the overall plot. It just, tells, oh, Rivet is gonna stuck around, and now Clank has a new arm. Cute,
I think that's admittedly just my main issue. Like, I wouldn't normally mind it, but the fact that it's dragged on for so long does make me wonder, did you guys even really have much of a plan for what you were going to do?
Well,
when you introduced
TJ
this
Fishman
plot point?
definitely had, but because of what happened with the reimagining, he kinda got pissed off and left. And the trouble with development of Rift Apart is kinda legendary, and I don't really wanna get it because it involves a lot of, he said, she said that, really went nowhere. We talked a bit during Resistance 3 run, so go watch that if you want.
It does seem a case where, yes, the game was a success, but there's unfortunately a bit of a cloud hanging over it.
And as demonstrated by the game that they immediately did afterward, Spider-Man 2, it's clear that there was still internal conflict and Insomniac in terms of writing, because a lot of things was rewritten, out of character, the way all the characters are written and gameplay situations are done, it just feels weird. There clearly were DLC episodes planned, but they did not do anything, and a couple of the games like the multiplayer Spider-Verse tie-in were basically quietly cancelled. We don't even know if we're gonna get the Venom spin-off game, especially now that Tony Todd is dead. So...
And shoot, for a good point of time, some people were wondering if the Wolverine project was dead.
Well, we don't, again, it's still information that we're overall not supposed to know, technically, because it was data theft. It wasn't even the company, accidentally leaking overall. It was someone actively hacking into their data banks, so... Oh, goody, the fight's also here, gone.
Admittedly, we did get that Wolverine trailer, so I think people were most so worried about that game possibly being...
Well, it was the very small teaser, but otherwise we knew nothing. We still ideally know nothing about the game.
What I'm going is why people were fearing it might be dead, because, we have not heard an inch about that game ever since.
Also, if you noticed, I have a new weapon, the Razor Claws, speaking of Wolverine, if you want to have in close quarter combat, and if I recall correctly, it's one of those weapons that the more they level up, the more they change their colors in order to be fancy.
Nice.
Again, only time will tell, but as we're recording right now, the game industry is, at least for the big guys on top, is clearly not going through a good, in a good direction. If anything, it's more like indies who are probably not thriving in the market. So we'll have to see what the future holds, if there is any. I'm not expecting like another big crash like the one that happened with Atari, because we're at a point in the industry where it's unrealistic to expect that on the same kind of scale. Again, at worst, indies will still flourish because the market for those is still an assured one at the end of the day. So, and even with services, again, taking aside Steam, even services like itch.io serves to actually, be good whistleblowers for for those projects. So, again, stuff will endure. It's just a matter of, possibly seeing the more bombastic, big guys go away. Not Nintendo. Definitely Nintendo doesn't seem to be any danger. Again, legendarily, Nintendo has amassed that much of a fortune that they can tank off multiple years in a row of complete utter failure, and they're not even close to that. So...
Yeah, like, we will probably sooner see Microsoft or Sony go under, and Microsoft just seem to have... Okay, Microsoft are going through something of an internal apocalypse at this point. Some rumored, but also a lot confirmed. Rare, it seems like, is dead. Everwild...
honestly, again, Sea of Thieves was, I argue, still was good enough, but... when it comes to the Rare that people, grew up with, that shit was dead since Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. And it kind of shows because, the original devs, went away to form Playtonic Studios instead.
Yeah, like, I honestly kind of had that mentality too. Sadly, it seems like if there is going to be any Rare, all they'll be doing is Sea of Thieves, which, you know what? I'll agree, Sea of Thieves is good nowadays.
And honestly, considering we saw nothing of Everwild, yes, it was still a colossal waste of everyone's time at the end of the day, especially the devs, and the money involved. But honestly, I'm not, crying out for the loss of it, because I don't even know what it was supposed to be about.
Tio, even Rare admitted they didn't know what Everwild was supposed to be about, and they were making the damn game, like... Okay, I'll be honest, nothing of loss there as far as I know, but I legit have to wonder, were they literally just sitting on their hands with that one if they didn't even know what the game they were making was supposed to be?
You think that would be the first thing they figure out?
It kind of makes that image at the end of Battletoads 2020, I forgot the specific year, the more recent Battletoads 2D game, where their popularity is outclassed by Sea of Thieves, even more prophetic.
Yeah. Wait, was that reboot Battletoads?
Yes, the one that we covered, and I wish we didn't. God.
Wait, I forgot that one mentioned Sea of Thieves.
Yes, well, it doesn't mention directly, but one of the images in the credits is, or at the beginning, at the end, I forgot, is the Toads getting pissed off. You know how the credits of Shazam, the first Shazam movie, has Shazam being pissed off at Aquaman is more popular than him? Something similar with that, but one of the skeletons of Sea of Thieves. Again, it was cute.
I'll admit, I've softened up on that reboot. I still don't care for it, though, because it has that same style of humor that I did not like in Nuts and Bolts. The, oh, look, these characters you like are now washed up and will never be popular again sort of thing. Which was...
At the very least, unlike in Nuts and Bolts, they actually did allow the Battletoads to do what they did best for all those years ago. Just without the bullshit difficulty. Also, just to mention about also what's going on, sure, the pirates are one thing, but for some reason, the working, laborers of Kerchu themselves, these gophers like, aliens, they're also attacking us for no adequate reason. They're the ones that are piloting the working equipment, like the bassos and stuff. Not sure why they think we're hostile, but maybe it's a situation where they're already under attack by the pirates and they're just, trying to defend themselves against everyone who's approaching them, but still.
Possibly.
And yeah, obviously we have a big fuck you, weak point on the back that you can exploit.
Beautiful. So, Clank, this is like, what, the 7th journey that involves us having to crash through a planet that's basically at war with itself?
Unfortunately, Ratchet, I have lost count.
Well, in this case, it's more of a case where the pirates just arrived, earlier than us. So this will create a bit of a hilarity in the cutscene right after the boss of this level. Also, the spinning enemies just remind me of those sub-weapons that the aliens in the Battleship 2012 movie use. I wish I didn't remember that.
I was actually going to say that the aliens that curl up in the balls remind me of the droids from Phantom Menace.
Oh, the droideca?
Well, the prequels in general,
well,
yeah.
The droidecas tend to be just spherical, and when they, properly unpack, they develop, the blaster shield. Well, these ones do have the spikes, rotating around. So...
It's like the concept of robot that curls into ball, basically.
I mean, okay, in this case you can just ask the question of why can't Metroid crawl at that point.
That reminds me of Metroid Prime 3, where the pirates are trying to figure out how Samus's tech works, and they think,
as
oh,
the game
yes!
goes on, the space pirates are shown time and time again to not be the smartest people in the entire galaxy. So
That's, it's perfectly safe to inject ourselves with Phase-On.
what could possibly go wrong? How did Ridley manage to work with these people?
Okay. This is why I think the Space Pirates went really downhill after Ridley died. Ridley was the one who got that operation working.
Well, okay,
I mean,
if I recall correctly, was also genuinely helped by Mother Brain the first time. So...
True, yeah, but a lot of later games, the ones trying to more so make Ridley the full-on antagonist to Samus, kind of suggest that, yeah, Mother Brain was technically a head honcho and stuff, but Ridley did most, if not all, of the heavy lifting.
Seriously, these Kerchu ones don't know when to quit.
Yeah.
Boss
Hey.
fight on rails.
Well, that's the first phase. We will be able to damage it properly later. Again, like I said at the beginning, Glibs, because of the PS3 era, they tried to make more of these grandiose, epic set pieces to show, how cinematic with TM we are. It's just...
Again, I don't mind that inherently. What's interesting now is the revelation that some of these games intentionally lowered themselves to 30 frames per second, not to help the game's performance, but to make it look more cinematic. Like now, if it's
unfortunately, From Software had to actively confirm that. That's why they capped it, and that's why the PS5 version is still capped at that, which is a crying shame.
It's like, look, if you gotta lower it to 30 frames per second for the game's performance, I'm fine with that, and I get it. But holy cow, has it become so dated trying to make games into movies?
It was seen at the big fat at the time, remember. The first Evil Within game had the whole black bars present all the time, precisely because of that, because Shinji Mikami thought it was, the new hype thing from the future. Also,
upside down!
Again, in order to try to have, something more unique for the boss fight, I get it. So yeah, now we probably have to defeat the Kerchu, construction robot.
Okay, Ratchet, just don't let the blood flow to your head too quick.
Jova, you're the Transformers expert. What's the name of the combined form of the Constructicons?
Devastator.
Okay, then.
As for the Combaticons, that's Bruticus.
Well, remember, I only grew up with the 2001 version of Robots in Disguise, so that one had complete different teams who actually did change into more. There were 3 trains, I think, to combine into one. Again, it's been a long time, so I don't even remember their names.
And unfortunately,
but instead the Decepticons of that did also had their own combiner team.
Yeah, that's the thing. It sounds like you grew up on the Unicron trilogy, which is basically the anime bout, which does a lot of changes.
I
Like,
don't. Again,
for
the
instance-
one thing that I remember is that that's the one series. At least I remember. I only saw the Robots in Disguise one, not any of the following one. That's the one series that did not have Starscream in the Decepticons team, but instead, and Megatron was instead the leader of the Predacons at the beginning. The Decepticons arrived later, with their leader being Scourge, which happened to be created when Optimus Prime was supposedly saving an oil truck from being spilled, so one of the quote-unquote souls that had to inhabit a vehicle inhabited that and fused alongside with Optimus to create evil Black Optimus.
yes.
And
God,
the other thing that I remember is that at one point Megatron just digivolves into Galvatron on his own. I don't remember how that happened. Ultra Magnus arrives and he can actually fuse with Optimus Prime, and I think it ends with both the Predacons and the Decepticons being exiled into the Phantom Zone. I think that's kind of what happens. It's been a while.
So,
There it is, the Dimensionator properly.
Ratchet, no.
That Kerchu must have been protecting the device.
Look at this thing. I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, it looks like a
This is
hair washer.
incredible.
Ratchet,
Oh,
I think they followed us.
Avast, young scallywag. I see ye have something that belongs to me. Now be a good lad and hand it over.
Yeah, why don't you try and take it, Grog Breath?
You wouldn't begrudge an old pirate his booty, would ye? That'd make
Kick
old
your
Pete
booty,
here
back
a bit
up.
twitchy with the blade.
Aye, Captain. Say the word, and it's the locker for our friend.
I mean, don't you have like a ton of gadgets you could use to get yourself out of that?
alright, pay attention to how the music concludes with this. Like, yes, yes, David, I know you wanted to do something like Pirates of the
I
Caribbean,
just
but
received
holy
a transmission
shit!
from Ophelia.
Yeah, that
She has
really
tracked
was
Snipes'
Pirates of the
projectile
Caribbean
fleet
there.
hidden in the Oobleck Passage.
Coordinates acquired for the Uber
Pick Ratchet before Disney sues us.
Yeah, pretty much. Thankfully, that doesn't mean we can't just, leave them there. So instead, we can actually follow them to the Oobleck Passage, which we're going to do in the next part, which will basically serve as the final confrontation with the pirates in this game. So,
Lovely.
get hyped, TM. There is a specific reason also why Clank still gets in some dangerous situations, and neither Ratchet nor the Zoni get to help him. But again, we'll have to wait until the end of Quest for Booty for that. For the time being, tune in for the next part where we go to the Oobleck Passage and finally confront the pirates once and for all. See ya.
See ya.
Ta-ta.